World Trigger. This is World Trigger, chapter 250.
Wow.
This is World
Forget
Trigger.
that we had that.
Yeah, that's World Trigger chapters 250 and 251, starting with 250. The away mission test part 42. God damn. Last we left off with World Trigger, we are approaching the end of this side or this part of the away mission test, where agents had to scramble in different teams and simulate living on an actual ship that will be traveling the neighborhood in the away test. So there have been various tests throughout the arc. There's different characters that have had to go through different growths, characters that are not in a leadership position taking on leadership positions, and they are approaching their what seems to be their final special assignment, which seems to be that all of the ships, all of the squads are experiencing technical difficulties with the fridge door, where it's not opening up for anybody. So it started with
pantry.
Yeah, we noticed it with the Codera squad at first, and then we start to see that it's happening with literally every ship. We open with Codera squad realizing that the door is closed, and they get a call from Suwa squad, who is asking basically the same thing. He's like, I'm just wondering if you ran into any trouble. And Codera's like, I guess it happened to you guys too. And he's like, all right, that's all I got to know. Message received. So, we cut back to Suwa squad, and they're kind of breaking down exactly what's going on. They're just like, well, so they want us to tough it out without food on the final day. But they're like, no, wait, without proper meals and rest, our Triumph reserves won't be replenished. So, we may not be able to use the laptops and all that stuff. So, we gotta figure out what to do about the goddamn door. And
Fuck that. Starve.
starve. No, but they figure that, this special exam is that they got to figure out a way to fix the door. And they're like, what if we can't fix it? Are we fasting? I guess the operator goes like, the selection test enters its diet arc. And Osamu starts to think to himself, is like, no, if worst comes to worst. And we immediately cut over to, I forget this character's name, but the sniper for, who was he in?
Codera?
No.
You said the sniper?
The sniper with the hat. I gotta reread World Trigger again, I guess. Taichi, thank you.
He says it in the chapter.
There we go, Taichi.
Yeah, and he basically finishes Osamu's sentences. It's like, we could just break it, right? And they're like, the door? You want to break it? It's like, well, think about it. This whole test is about simulating a mission on the ship, and these ships should have an engineer or two along with the ride. But since nobody's coming to fix our pantry door, maybe we're supposed to assume that all of the engineers got wiped out. So he's figuring that, this is a scenario in which they don't have engineers, and they have to deal with a problem with the malfunction within the ship. So, they're like, even if they're not dead, something else could be keeping them from helping. So since the ship is powered by Trion, it's very important that we actually get to eat and stuff so that we can recharge our Trion supplies. Then that's when Inukai is like, well, given the premise here, maybe they're telling us to try and fix it. But Kaguya is like, well, we could try fixing it, and it's nice knowing that if we can't figure it out how to fix it, we could just break the door down. So, that could be a plan B, so to speak. Oh, sorry, you were gonna say something, Josh?
Yeah, I was gonna wait till the thought section, but I want to get it out now. I'm curious to know, what was y'all first immediate thought? Like, what option would y'all have gone with?
Break the door.
That, when you were putting yourself in their shoes. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I thought about breaking the door too. I would not have thought about fixing that shit.
I was thinking maybe fix it. But
I think if it was like a regular door, something that wasn't made out of alien hybrid technology or whatever bullshit they working with.
yeah,
But they do mention, I guess, later in the chapter that a lot of their like delegate assignments had to do with like try-on circuitry and shit. So, like, maybe there is something they're supposed to be leaning on.
yeah, I thought fix the door, but only because when I came in, I forgot it was just a pantry door and not their fridge. And I'm like, if there's the fridge, they can't just break the door to the fridge. They need the door. So,
No, it's the door to the pantry.
yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I initially thought fix when I came into this chapter. It's like, they got to fix it, right? Because I thought it was a fridge door, but it's just their pantry. But,
I love that
there
Osamu
might
just
be
went
consequences
immediately
to
with
doing that.
break the door. What'd you say, Josh?
No, I said there's still. I'm sure this. There were still consequences to breaking the door theoretically. Mm-hmm. As they're gonna explain later in the chapter.
yeah. Well, Osamu said this is like a plan B for him, It's like if worst comes to worst, they're going to break down the door if they can't figure out how to fix it. But in any case, we cut back to OG squad, and the OG is pretty confident that he could fix the door. And he's like, well, give me an hour, and if that doesn't work, we'll figure out another approach. So everybody kind of feels bad that they're like, we always leave the brainy stuff to OG, and we can't really contribute. But Ikoma's like, well, don't feel bad. Nah, don't feel bad. Like OG said, we're better off showcasing our actual strengths. As long as we put our best into heart into what we're best at, that should be good enough. So, gotta love Ikoma. And he's like, besides, the combat phase is coming, and that's when I'll prove my shit.
He breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah, he literally turns to us. He's like, I sure hope it works out that way, please. That was a funny moment. Murakami squad figures that they're going to fix the door. So, they're going to try to figure it out together because they remember that they were working on circuit diagrams during the exams. So, yeah, it'll be that they've decided mostly to fix the door. We cut to Kuruma squad where Yuba is already just taking a picture of the circuitry because if they're going to go start messing around with it, they might as well take a picture so they knew what it looked like before they started messing with it, which was a smart idea. Yuba is pretty confident in his ability to fix it because it looks just like the stuff in the reference documents. So, he's pretty good with repairing it. We then cut to back in the monitor room where everybody's commenting on how nobody is even remotely flustered by this. Every squad seems to have found their solution pretty quickly. They've broken down the teams into their respective groups, based on their solutions. There's 3 people on the team, just break it down immediately. Team break it down if necessary, and team try to fix it. Most squads, the majority of the squads are in team try to fix it. Suwa squad is in break it down immediately. And they reveal that actually fixing the door is the right answer and would probably earn them more points. So they're like, has Osamu lost his touch? I mean, what the hell? And what's her name? Usami, I want to say, the Tamakoma operator. She says that rather than waste.
Yes, Usami.
Yes, nailed it. She said, rather than waste precious time repairing the door, why not have dinner sooner and just break down the door? It's just a time-saving measure. And she even asked Konami, it's just like, hey, would you try to fix it? And Konami's like, nah, I'd probably break it if I tried to fix it. So, he says, out of everyone who... Yeah, he said, out of everybody who opted to repair the doors, the one that'll come out ahead are likely Yuba and Arafune. So, the higher ups are most likely to reward those who take into account of the aftermath of the repair job, because both Arafune and Yuba took pictures of the circuitry, in advance. So yeah, Hughes also opted and tried not to fix it because he's not used to these tools, is what they comment on. And yeah, they continue to kind of like talk about it.
Wait, you can see him talking shit in the text.
I didn't even notice
swear,
that.
media technology is utterly primitive.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that the first time.
I was wondering what that was saying before. I never actually paid attention till now.
Yeah, I swear, medium technology is utterly primitive. Is something over in Canada. It's very funny. Yeah, but basically, she's like, since Hughes crushed the Tryon related problems, and Yuma probably did well in that section too. And it turns out Yuma did not do as good as Hughes, but he did make decent headway. So, it's just like a lot of breaking down the individual score breakdowns for each player in each team. The A rankers really seem to like Yuma. They gave him a lot of points, and the most points on his squad. He was central to his squad's battle sim operation, and he's been making a concentrated effort to help Shiki and stuff. So that's nice. Oh, Shiki is actually Nasu's operator. So that's
she's scared of boys.
Yeah.
They all going through an arc except for the broccoli haired dude, the other broccoli haired dude, not the super smart.
Oh, Murakami? Oh no, not Murakami. Mizukami? What was his name again?
Mizukami is the broccoli headed guy.
They barely show him. They barely showed him at all. I don't even think he was on this away mission actually. I mean, I don't think he's got selected for this mission.
But anyway, we speak of the devil. We do cut back to Yuma, and he asks Sayoko, the operator for Nasu Squad, why she has a hard time talking to boys. And she's like, I'm not sure. I don't really have a reason why, but it did all start with that. And she's like, but then I'd have to explain this other thing. And Yuma's like, well, don't worry about it. I'm not trying to dredge anything up. And Sayoko actually finds the courage to ask both Yuma and this kid. I forget his name. I know he's part of a Kakizaki squad. Where
isn't he their sniper?
Sniper.
He's a gunner. Right. I remember him being a gunner or an all-rounder or something. They ask she asks if they believe in astral projection, which leads us to chapter 251, Sayoko Shiki.
Wait, she starts talking to them in the Tryon mind, right?
Yeah, she's basically using the comms in their Tryon bodies to talk to them, which is basically like telepathy. Sorry.
Also, his name is Kotaru Tomoe.
Gotcha. Oh, right, Tomoe. Tomoe asks, by astral projection, do you mean having your soul leave your body? And she's like, well, not my entire soul exactly. She explains that when she covers one eye, she's seeing out of her right eye, and that's the only part of her that she's moving around. So the way she pictures it is that, like, when she covers her right eye, it feels like only her right eye has left her body, and it can move around wherever she wants. And she's like, do you know what that sensation feels like? And she uses it to demonstrate. She says, right now, Utagawa is cutting some carrots, and Urashima is stir-frying chicken. And Tomoe asks if her ghost can move through walls and stuff. And she's like, well, no, it can't pass through walls or fly up into the air. Plus, it moves quite slowly and can't affect other objects. Not to mention, it can't.
What a lame ghost!
It can't squeeze through any space narrower than her head. But she's like, it must sound too crazy to believe, huh? You must doubt me. And Yuma's like, no, I know exactly what this is. I believe you. This makes absolute sense. But Yuma asks, what's your astral projection got to do with the other thing? And she explains that, like, when she was a kid, she would try to explain this power to her classmates, and they would think she's a liar as a result. But but her teacher is just like, here's an idea. See that big apartment building over there? I live on the first floor. Here's what you'll do. Tonight, around 8, make your ghost travel from your house and spy on me at home. Then the question is, what am I having for dinner? And she's like, okay. So she does that. She basically projects her body or her eye all the way over to this guy, to her teacher's apartment as he's, taking a picture of his dinner that night so that he can prove that, to her classmates that, hey, she's not saying the truth. She's not lying.
Wasn't that a weird ass request? They could have just did that shit at school.
Yeah, they could have done something different.
I just gotta say that. Why would you? I thought that was creepy as hell. That's where my mind was going because she has.
Okay, so here's why.
Her issue with male figures.
I think he he didn't actually believe her because he says he's taking the picture so that she can show him, he could show her what he ate beforehand, and so that it could seem like she's telling the truth. So he doesn't believe that she can actually do this. He's just like trying to do her a favor.
He planned that from the jump.
Yeah, so he could like take a picture of the food and he's like, this is what I had for dinner, so that when I ask you, you could say it's this. He didn't actually think that she could do that, but surprise, surprise, she can actually do that. And as we cut over to the next morning, and then he says, so last night for what I had for dinner, and then she cuts him off and says spaghetti. And he's kind of shocked. He's like, what's this all about? He's like, don't worry about it. He's like, wow, you actually have a talent for good guesses. Go on, what kind of spaghetti? And she said, with tomato sauce. You ate it with your wife, that lady with the long hair. And he's like, huh? And we cut back to the present where Shiki explains that the woman that he was eating dinner with was in fact not his wife. His wife was apparently very pregnant, so she was staying with her parents, and he was cheating on her, the dirty fucking cheater. And when he realized that, he basically confronted her. He's like, you must never tell those sorts of silly lies. You got that? He literally just like pulled up to this girl. It was like vaguely threatening her in a sense. And not long after, he ended up being transferred to another school. And ever since then, whenever she talks, she's just like worried that she'll say something weird, and and just like put people off. And she seems to have an especially hard time with men who are older than her. So she's just like, I probably sound like crazy or something. This is probably coming off really bizarre. And Tomoe assures her, is like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. You just got dragged into someone else's scandal. And she's like, yeah, for sure. And Yuma explains that, like, hey, your side effect sounds super handy. And Tomoe's like, side effect? And, obviously we know what a side effect is. It's just these, like, hypersensory powers that exist in this universe. It's never usually anything crazy. It's just kind of like a sensory thing. Like Yuma's lie detector, Kikuchihara's enhanced hearing, and the sleep learning from Murakami. I almost said Mizukami. So Yuma explains that even among side effects, this sounds like a really rare one. And he says what's really going on is that you're extending a thin strand of Tryon along the ground, and the tip of it can detect light without any external equipment. So that's how she's able to see using her Tryon, which is really cool. If she can develop it into something better. And Yuma asks if she has told anybody about this, but she only explains that Nasu's squad is the only people who know, and now obviously Yuma and Tomae know. And yeah, she's like, and Yuma basically says, hey, if I were you, I would tell the big bosses. I mean, they'd probably appreciate the new options that it would give them, and it would really come in handy on defense missions. So yeah, Yuma was able to help out. It was kind of nice. We then cut to Shiki remembering telling Akane about this, and she had a really positive reaction. She was like, whoa, this is the coolest thing of all time. I want to astral project too. And, Shiki thinks to herself, like, maybe I should, tell people, basically. And we cut back to Kodera's squad, and they actually managed to fix the pantry door. Yay for them. So...
yeah.
That's very cool.
Fucking tryhards.
Goody two shoes. Actually doing the test right. Yeah, basically it's like, whoa, I'm glad we avoided the worst case scenario. Realizing that the malfunction was in fact just another special assignment allowed me to stay calm and finish the job. So, confirming it with Suwa made it seem, helped them out greatly, not lose their shit. So, everybody's about to make dinner, and Kodera thinks to himself that there's no more matches between squads tomorrow. What's left of this competition will be decided on our ability to get this work done plus our battle tactics. But there's just one factor I'm uneasy about. With that, we turn back to Mizukami's squad. Arafune also manages to fix the door, and they have only one day of the sealed environment phase left before we finally move on to the battle portion of the away mission test. Very excited. Mizukami squad has a 600-point lead over the second place squad and a 1,000-point lead over the third place. So, they're basically saying that, like, hey, I think we pretty much got this made. So their thinking is like, well, let's not be too crazy. I mean, so Wakamura's squad did close the gap by almost 800 points today, so they're not entirely out of the woods yet. So they're like, oh, there doesn't seem to be any funny business with the sim score. So process elimination leaves the delegated assignments, and they're figuring that maybe after. They really did some extra time doing the delegated assignments that boosted their scores up. And they're asking, like, how? I mean, you could only do that during labor hours. And that's when Mizukami is like, well, you could just take pics of the screenshots of the homework and the homework questions and then just do it and submit them immediately. So, Mizukami is worried that somebody will be able to close the gap in the last day, so they gotta be a little crazy. They gotta be a little more careful about stuff. But he's not particularly worried about Wakamura's squad. And as they sit to eat, the chapter ends with Mizukami saying that he would like to run an idea over by his team, which is a big development, seeing as how he was operating entirely independently of his team at the start of the exam. So I'm very excited to see how this develops, but that was World Trigger chapters 250 and 251. Josh, what did you think about them?
Thanks, Chris. In all honesty, this wasn't a super eventful couple chapters from World Trigger, but it was missed and it was enjoyable nonetheless. I think it's really interesting that they reveal this girl has like a side effect and that it's linked to her like immense anxiety she has like socially around other guys. But that was, I think that was a really, it was a creative way of like showing, like of like kind of fleshing out a character, while also kind of making a point about how people can develop in certain ways based on like early childhood experiences. Wasn't preachy or anything about that. It was just something that made a lot of sense that I think people could relate to, even if they've never really thought about those kind of things or reflected on that. Anyway, I didn't love the door situation.
Yeah.
But before I go in about before I give more comments about that, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. If I was put in that situation realistically, I probably would have wasted a couple hours just mulling over like, do I break it or try to fix it? And ultimately, I might have leaned towards fixing it because I thought, that would be the right thing to do. But I think at the end of the day, I would probably be worried about messing it up, like, or like wasting time trying to fix it and not know what I'm doing anyway. So I think eventually I would have broke it. But man, the way all of these teens resolve so fast to like what their solution was gonna be, and like I'm glad that the Tamakoma member made a comment about that, because yeah, that's not regular.
Yeah.
Especially for majority of them being so young. It's intense, but it's not like these are regular children. They're not. They've been part of our military and have been under training for months and a few years. Based on some agents. So it's not like it doesn't make sense. I just thought it was funny, but yeah, I didn't. I don't know. I thought in my opinion, the door situation felt like filler, unless it comes back in some type of crazy way. Because I don't know. I don't see what this led to. It's not like the door situation led to Kuma or Yuma. My bad. Yeah, damn, it's been a while. It didn't lead. That didn't force Yuma to end up talking to the girl about her anxieties or whatever. That was just a spur of the moment conversation. Which, by the way, was hilarious. The way he just upright and like asked her, like, "Yo, so what's your problem with guys?
What's your fucking problem, dude?"
Yeah, why are you so nervous talking to dudes? I think it was handled really well, like always. It's nothing new. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Brian, what did you think?
This is a pretty I really liked. I gotta say, it's really fucking lucky that Kuga ended up being on this girl's team, because of anybody who could possibly like you know like have heard her story and kind of verified it, it's the guy whose side effect is literally can tell if you're lying.
Yeah.
Like, that must have brought her so much comfort to have
Good point.
him there to like kind of listen to her story and fully fucking believe her, because he literally can tell that she's telling the truth. So that was a very wholesome moment, and it's nice to see that she felt heard and have like a new spin on things. I will say, with this new update, she is easily the most useful operator to have on the battlefield. If operators are going to be fighting on the field, she
Yeah.
would be the most useful by a fucking long shot with this ability.
Yeah, that's a nice precursor.
Like that's pretty fucking sick. Um so there's that going for them. And it seems like it's really interesting to see different teams' like thought process, OG squad is definitely gunning to win in the fucking battle sim because it looks like all of them are pretty much like gung ho, fucking we're ready to scrap already type shit. Um, and I wonder what the fuck is going on with Wakamura squad because like they have just been actually killing it and nobody is saying anything, and it's pissing me off.
Well,
Like all the
Mizukami Squad acknowledged it. That they're like, you know,
yeah, but they
they're
didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck. He's just like, yeah, I don't care about Wakamura Squad. Yeah, you're the only one. I want to know what's going on in Wakamura Squad. Like, even the people like rating what's going on, like nobody's saying, damn, Wakamura Squad is going fucking insane with points right now. Is
Yeah.
anybody going to talk about this?
Yeah, true.
Like ever since that conversation, like that team has absolutely fucking skyrocketed, and I'm really hoping that Wakamura didn't offload leadership to Hughes. I'm really hoping that's not what happened. Um because that would be really disappointing for the character in my opinion. Um but yeah, this was a pretty interesting set of chapters. I am so ready to move on from this segment. I've been ready for a while. I after rereading the series, I got it a little bit more, but yeah, we're at the point where even the characters are kind of like, all right, let's wrap this shit up. Um, but yeah, those are my thoughts on World Trigger,
Yeah.
Chris.
I really like these chapters a lot. I mostly because I did find the door situation actually kind of it gave some variety to to the away mission. A lot of it has just been sitting down, doing homework, doing the battle sims, and I thought this was a good way to close out the this part of the exam. It's obviously not entirely over yet, but you know, I think this is a good way to kick it off, like this kind of last stretch of chapters with this part. And I liked everybody's like response. I liked that everybody was just like pretty much immediate. Like, I mean, there are only two options: you either break it or you fix it. You know, so and these kids are highly decisive already, so they were already all they really had to do was just pick one. But you know, it really was just what really came down to it is depending on the people in each squad and their confidence that they could actually fix it. Anybody who said that they would break it is that literally just like they didn't know how to fix it and they didn't feel confident that they could, so they just went to the idea of breaking it because it's better than wasting time and trying to figure it out, because they do have to eat in order to replenish their Tryon. So I I think it was cool to see. I thought it was like a good way to end it. This sudden character development for Shiki was very cool. I feel like this arc has been full of this kind of stuff where you would get like a tertiary character that suddenly has like some kind of depth to them. And I feel like this is what this arc has been particularly good for. It's just, you know, this is just
Yes.
such a massive cast of characters, and this is a good way to just continually give, like, you know, these background characters a little more depth and foreshadow their importance going into the series, as these away mission tests are going to somewhat shrink the cast to a degree. So
It's gonna be so sad
yeah,
that we're not gonna see some of these characters for a very long time.
yeah. I mean, I could see them cutting back and forth between the away mission and what's going on in the real world. I could see like some kind of invasion arc
Yeah.
from other places happening
Oh yeah, that'd be so
while everybody's
sick.
gone. But we'll
Without a doubt.
yeah. But either way, I'm getting ahead of myself. I thought these chapters were really cool and a nice change of pace. And yeah, I'm excited to see the last day. I'm also very excited to move on from this part of the test. As much as I did enjoy it, it's tough to do with World Trigger being somewhat irregular, to be in a slow moving arc like this, you know, because there's a lot of information that gets forgotten, especially sometimes the series takes like 2 months off. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say about World Trigger. It's so good, and these 2 chapters were no exception. Very into it.